And with the inauguration of President-elect Joe Biden tomorrow, the swearing-in ceremony is sure to look different than in years past.
Western Mass News reporter Sabrina Riley is getting answers on the history of presidential inaugurations and how this year may change that ceremony for years to come.
This is the worst transition, the worst inaugural circumstances that we have ever seen.
Professor of history at Western New England University, John Baick, tells Western Mass News when looking back over more than 2 centuries of American democracy, never has a transition of power compared to now. But he says 2 eras do come close.
President Roosevelt in 1933 because of the Great Depression, and President Lincoln back in 1861. We have never had this combination of circumstances where we have a political crisis, where we have an economic crisis, where we have a public health crisis. Nothing like this. Nothing this dangerous, nothing this fraught.
Professor Baick says it's important to note that never has there been an inauguration canceled or postponed, something that President-elect Joe Biden was determined not to change. That said, Wednesday's ceremony will not look anything like our nation has seen.
This inauguration is going to look like a capital that's still under siege. The last time we had this many soldiers in Washington, D.C., we didn't have this many on 9/11 and the days after. They had a lot, but not this many. The last time Washington, D.C. looked this way, empty except for soldiers, was during the Civil War itself, when Washington, D.C. was an armed camp. That could be a model for inaugurations going forward.
And while no inauguration has looked like this before, he says this amount of security could become the standard moving forward.
Having 100,000 people is something that's hard to control, and you can hopefully control it near the dais itself with bulletproof glassing, with a lot of security, but it's possible that in the future the mall will be locked down. It's possible that future crowds will have to be checked by metal detectors and perhaps even background checks. This year, the crowd is getting COVID checks.
Additionally, Baick says that the success of the ceremony and transition of power will be critical to the protection of our nation moving forward.
We can only hope that our rivals and enemies around the world are not going to choose this transition as a time to act. It is not unusual at all for people around the world to test the resolve, to test the transition. It's not just going to be tomorrow that is a day fraught. It's going to be the next few months that will test the mettle.
For Western Mass News, I'm Sabrina Riley.